Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Rose with Realty One Group in Payson, Arizona. Thank you for joining us, the talk show live. Please like, share, ask questions. We love your input. Today, our esteemed guest is our Mayor Tom Morrissey. So I want to welcome Tom Morrissey. But before I do, I want to also thank Cameron Davis of Razor Thin Media. There he is, for putting on this production. We're very grateful to Cameron. And today's going to be a really meaty kind of talk show because we're going to cover several topics. One of the main topics is going to be the internet redundancy issue. So first, I would like to introduce you all, if you haven't met him already, to Tom Morrissey. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you back.
It's a pleasure to be here. And I look forward to a fruitful discussion. My accent gets in the way.
That Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into the internet, you were just interviewed by the Washington Post. I have an article right here. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that? Because I know with the COVID virus, the mask issue is starting to flare up again. So why don't you talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Let people know.
I was contacted, I think the beginning of the week, I think it was Monday or it could have been over the weekend, by a reporter from the Cronkite News Network, which is also released and broadcast on PBS. And the reporter told me that he was writing an article for the Washington Post about face masks and how certain municipalities handle the effects of it and the mitigation of it. So, reporters, they use those big words, mitigation. So, what happened, I agreed to do the interview, and he seemed a little surprised that I agreed to. And so, we talked about, he noted that I was one of the mayors in the state to have had a mandate for wearing face masks, and then lifted it. And so he said that when I lifted it, according to his research, we had an uptick in cases, and I said that's not true, and I cited the numbers to him, and he seemed a little surprised that I had that at hand. So he said, well, it is a fact that face masks do prevent the spread of the disease, and I said, well, that depends on who you're talking to. He said, well, what do you base your decision to lift the mandate? I said, well, number one, the Constitution, and I said, as an originalist, I really have a big heartburn with putting things like that into effect. I mean, we're not children, we can make our own decision, and we understand the severity of this thing. But I said, we had a rodeo here in town in August. And we had at least 2,400 people in the stands. I said, yeah, the people coming in had their temperatures checked, and they agreed to maintain social distancing, and they were asked to wear masks. And I said, you don't tell a cowboy to wear a mask if he doesn't want to wear a mask, or a cowgirl. I said, and I carried the colors out into the field with the honor guard. So it gave me a chance to look around the arena. And I said, there weren't very many people wearing masks. And I said I was a little troubled by that, but that's the way it was. I said, and there was no uptick after that event. I said it was out in the open, and it was highly celebrated. People were like children because they had been set free, like it was summer vacation. Everybody was happy and upbeat. I said, guess what? There was no uptick. So we had, so we went through that discussion. So he said, well, it is a fact. We went back to that. I said, that may be true. I said, but it's not true here. This is not what happened here. I said, and I'm watching. I know the numbers are taken up, but not as much in Payson as it is around the state. And I got into a little conversation. I won't say an argument with him. He was very polite. And I said that, you, the media, have painted this thing like the Black Plague, like it's a death sentence if you get it. I said, and it's not. He said, well, what do you base that on? I said, media after media I said, you have everybody frightened. Everybody's afraid. They want to stay home. I said, look what you've done. There's been an increase in suicides. There's been an increase in drug addiction and alcoholism, domestic violence. All from the way you've handled this thing. And he said, well, we were presented with the science. I said, what science? Who are the scientists? Well, Dr. Fauci. I said, well, okay, he's a doctor. He's more qualified than me to really take a stand. I said, but you cannot deny what has happened to this country, and you destroyed our economy. And I said, thank God we have the president we have that has brought us back. I mean, as you know, you might have seen, our GDP yesterday was 31%, historical high. And I said, I view him as a realist. And I said, and I take my position based on what's best for my town. I said, I've got to keep the businesses open and keep them viable. Well, taking away face masks and all, I said, no, the businesses can make that call. If Walmart tells you got to wear a mask when you go in, you damn well better. I mean, that's their property. I said, but people should be allowed to make their own decisions. So, and when we went back and forth, but I say again, he was very polite. He was he did a really good interview, and we had a really good discussion.
Yeah. So where can people find that? I mean, you have a link to the Washington Post. This article just came out.
Yeah. The link is what I sent.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just came out last night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure people can Google the Washington Post. The interview with our Payson mayor.
Go to Josh Ortega. He was the reporter, Josh Ortega.
Okay.
And go to Tom Morrissey, face mask Payson. Just Google it and it'll come up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's segue right into the meat of this talk show. There's been a lot of criticism towards you as our mayor regarding the internet, and we do have problems here with redundancy, meaning we don't have constant ability to keep the internet up and going, including the Wi-Fi signals and the cell phone coverage. And this graph kind of explains why. The blue is the internet that's already in place, these lines. This dotted line is a proposed line that's being built right now, coming off of the rim from Show Low.
Right.
And this right here was once an empty, broken line here and here. So Flagstaff and Prescott also had redundancy issues up until, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, when they were able to bridge the gap, seal this off, and have some connectivity. So what we want is connectivity, a loop. So the internet, when it goes down, can be restored very quickly within seconds, not hours or days. So here's the problem with Payson. We're not redundant. We are only resilient. Resiliency means we can only bounce back after time because we don't have the infrastructure to keep the connectivity constant and secure. So we have a broken line here that has to be dealt with. This line, this yellow line, and going down into Phoenix, this is what we need to make ourselves redundant. So this is a very expensive endeavor, right? I mean, CenturyLink owns all the lines up here, the infrastructure, the cable, and then Suddenlink rents from them, Verizon rents from them, APS rents from them. But we've got a problem. Until we fix this link, or coming down this way and tying into this line, we will not have redundancy. So that is the true issue. So why don't you explain to our viewers, Mayor, if you will, what steps you are taking to ensure that the redundant lines come together.
Okay. And as far as getting blamed for this, I got blamed for the rainstorm the other night. I mean, I control the weather too. But what happened, with it, it's laughable because the criticism that I've received on this is laughable. The mayor of Payson has no power, or the council has no power over the internet. That's private industry. We don't have the resources or anything even close to that. However, okay, we were pitched a deal from a source that we invest $900,000 as a town into one of the cable providers, the internet providers, bringing it in for redundancy. Okay. Now, I'm a master of redundancy because I repeat myself all the time, and I do that. But when you get to that subject, we had to look at it. So when the idea was pitched to the council, what we did was we said, well, we'd like to help, but there's certain requirements, there's certain standards that would have to be in place for the release of any money. This would have been $90,000 over a 10-year period, and that would require, well, there would be a set, you want $90,000, have you provided redundancy? If you haven't, you don't get the money. I mean, set up, that's a good business decision. So what happens about 3 weeks after we were pitched that, it was a working meeting, and it's got some viability. I mean, I'm open to anything that's going to get this town redundancy. We need that, a critical need, as you've said. However, 3 weeks later, I get invited to a meeting at the supervisor with the county supervisors, and there's a presentation by APS. And the APS representative told us about the fiber that they're running up from the valley. That's going to be a loop coming out of the valley, and it's going to come up to Payson, and it's going to go north, it's going to go up to Joseph City, and it's going to swing west to Flagstaff, and it's going to come down 87 and back and complete the circuit. And that will bring us redundancy and a much more robust internet. So I was stunned. I was like, wow, this is great. How much is it going to cost Payson? Of course, I want to find out. I got to protect the town. They said nothing. I said, will you say that again? And he said, nothing. I said, so you're going to bring this in? Well, yeah, we're doing it because it's part of their network, which helps APS. And they'll have fiber that can be dedicated and will be dedicated. So it'll come to what the last milers are, CenturyLink, Southern Link, and people like that. So that solves the problem. Okay. Now, the town of Payson really will benefit from it, but the town of Payson really does not have the power other than, and that's why I want you elected, right, to create an environment. An inviting environment so that things like this can happen in this town. Okay, we are a town in transition. Yeah. Okay, we do not need to sacrifice our culture. Okay, we are a cowboy, cowgirl town, whatever you want to call it, cool mountain town. All those things that bring people here to live will not be sacrificed to the transition. We are in transition. We have to move with the times, and we need to move so that it benefits the town and not special interests. The only special interest for the elected in this town and for the people that work for this town is the town of Payson. And I can't say that often enough, folks. The people of Payson have the power to determine the fate of Payson, should you choose to take it. Do not be intimidated. Do not accept being dismissed when you bring ideas to the town, because this is your town, this is our town, and we have a right to determine that. And it should never be, we should never be subject to special interests getting what they want before the town of Payson gets what it wants. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's as simple as that. And I just ask questions. I'm not pointing a finger of suspicion at anybody. But I'll tell you something. There's a lot of questions that I am not satisfied with the answers I've received. So you know what I'm doing? I'm asking them again. And then when I do that, I get attacked by people who are anonymous. I know who they are, but they don't come up front and say who they are.
So that leads us into this letter that you wrote in to the Payson Roundup.
Roundup.
It's in the today's paper, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's in today's paper.
Do you want to, since you're on that vein, let's
sure
follow through with that.
Let's segue into that. There's an organization called A Better Payson, and my question is, a better Payson for whom? Like whom? I'll try to use the proper grammar, right? Whom or who? So when they attack, they're completely anonymous. They don't attribute anything other than to the PAC or the LLC, as I understand, that prevents them from being sued. Okay, so their attack on me was based on when I was running for mayor, was that when I was chairman of the Arizona Republican Party, that I was a disaster, and there were a couple of movements to try to remove me, which really weren't movements. They were disgruntled people. The reason is, folks, because there is an establishment in our political party system, and guess what? In our town. Okay, there's an establishment. The establishment believes that they know better than we do. Okay, and some things they may. I'm not arguing that, but that does not give them the right to impose their will on the will of the people. Country's built on 3 words: we the people. We the people, not those who think they know better, okay, or assume they do. So when they attacked me when I was chairman of the party, and it was all based on lies. They said that there was all these movements. Yeah, the establishment tried to remove me because I wasn't one of them, and I refused to cave to them. So what happened at the end of my term as chairman was I went out. During my term, I went out to the Latino community and welcomed them into the party because they embraced the same principles that the party claimed to embrace. Same principle: work ethics, family-oriented, even they were pro-life, which I agree with, and so they came in droves. Herman Cain came in and helped us raise money. Michelle Bachmann came in. They were running for president at the time. We went out. I found a different way to raise money. We raised almost $4 million, which was a record. And at the end of my term, right after the election of 2012, I get a call from the New York Times, and who wanted to interview me, and which I was kind of chuckling at. New York Times, like the Washington Post, same thing. They interviewed me. However, I asked the reporter what she wanted to interview me about, and she said, we want to know what I did as chairman of the state party that no other chairman did in the country. I said, what do you base that on? I said, we did the numbers and the ratio, and by far we were the most successful Republican Party in the country. We won every statewide thing. Now, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I'm not trying to pitch something to you that is political, believe it or not. I'm trying to tell you how organizations work and how the establishment can strangle certain organizations and certain communities. And that's what you have to guard against. Mm-hmm. That's what the people of our town have to guard against. Because, in my case, I mean, what the attack that they leveled on me were based on lies and falsehoods. So I've invited them to come out into the sunlight. Sunlight's a great disinfectant, and have a discussion with me and look me in the eye and tell me the lies, mm-hmm. so that I can discuss it and prove to them that they're wrong. Yeah,
because they're using verbiage that is dangerous in terms of a lawsuit. I mean,
yeah.
What is it that they're referring to that could get them sued?
Well, they used the term octogenarian for me. Okay. And octogenarian, when it's used negatively as a criticism, is age discrimination. Age discrimination is one of the few forms of discrimination that guarantees a right to a trial in a federal court. Okay? Now, I have told them, and it's in the article today, Benjamin Franklin was 82 when he was one of the co-writers of the Constitution. That stands today. And how many of us in our lives have not taken an oath to the Constitution at one time or another? And if they doubt my viability, come to one of my martial arts classes. I'll be glad to demonstrate that to them. I am viable. And the classes that I do here weekly are for the benefit of the homeless and the needy. I mean, I don't get a fee for it. All that money, whatever money people donate, I don't even touch it. You know, it goes directly to them. And you know, and I really feel that, you know, what they do, they're like high school age people who I don't even want to besmirch them. I mean, they act like middle schoolers or grammar school, but the way they conduct themselves and you know, and name calling and you know, and drawing cartoons, disparaging cartoons. I think that you've had a couple. I know I've had a couple.
Quite a few cartoons about me. Boy, that artist needs to take some art lessons. That's all I can say. But you know, it's almost a testament to what you really stand for, and there is some kind of undercurrent in this town. I think we are a microcosm of the national landscape, where when people show up, good people that want to try to empower the people, be a true public servant, serve the people, not for their own interests, but for the interest of others. And I've always said this, a leader, a true leader, is someone that sacrifices themselves for the good of the people. A non-leader is someone that sacrifices the people for their own self-interest. Right. And as a former military man, as a retired U.S. Marshal, law enforcement, you started out the show by saying the police chief, our new town manager, and yourself are all retired lawmen. You know, it's kind of like the old Western, if we're going to compare it to, you know, the good old days, like Bonanza or something. Like the law enforcement is back in this town, and my hope is that accountability would increase, that law and order would return, and that bullying tactics and abusive name calling and disrespect, especially on social media, will not be tolerated anymore, because you certainly don't deserve it, Mayor. No. Anyone that's a retired veteran or a lawman that's getting this kind of disrespect, to me, is unacceptable. And I hope the good people of Payson would stand behind our good mayor and you know, help us fight the good fight. And obviously, I would like the vote of the public here in Payson, so I could be the next town council member and serve the needs of the good people of Payson. So I want to thank you so much for everything that you've done, and what you will continue to do. And I'm going to segue, because we only have a few minutes, and bring in my treasurer. And so, Mayor,
as I leave, they used. They said that I have my own OK Corral. And at the OK Corral was Wyatt Earp. He was the U.S. Marshal too.
Oh, I love it.
And the bad guys lost and the good guys won. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, Carla, come on in. Have a seat right there.
This is my wonderful treasurer, Carla Toller. As she's getting mic'd up, just want to say that this woman has done a tremendous job as our treasurer for our campaign committee. This woman has our financial reports turned in the first day that they're due, in the morning. So there's plenty of time. There's a 2-week leeway, isn't there, when you file a financial report? So in case we've made any errors, that we can correct them in that 2-week time period. Is that correct, Carla?
That's my plan. I am pretty neurotic, and I turn things in right away. And yes, my hope is, because I don't know everything, this is my very first treasurer campaign thingy, and I'm doing it because I love this lady, and vote for Deborah. But here's the thing. I said yes to be her treasurer, and I took it very seriously. And I read this manual, good Lord, and scared the daylights out of me, because guess what? There are so many laws about campaign money Money is some serious stuff. So coming in and going out, you got to track both of them, and you got to be fully transparent. So, and I'm nervous, can you tell? But this is not what I'm good at.
Great.
I'm really good at the numbers, but this not so much.
Well, you've done a fabulous job, and I just want people to know that we want to be held to a very high standard in this campaign committee. It is also my first go around. None of us have done this, right? Because in the beginning I said I'm an unpolitician. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a politician. Since I've been in the race, I have quickly come to realize what's at stake here. And what's at stake is power and control. Make no mistake. This is a realm that is both vicious and very demanding. So I just wanted to let people know that we have our financial reports available. If you wanted to see how this wonderful lady's been tracking everything, and if you've ever given money, you will know how meticulous she is, and she knows those campaign rules better than anyone that I know. Matter of fact, we just had a complaint filed against us by someone, and how long did it take you to get that complaint and have it turned around and solved?
Oh, okay. Well, 3 days, 3 business days, and here's the thing. They gave us 10 business days to respond, and the irony of it is that the day that the complaint came in to our campaign, I was filing a complaint against the opposing campaign because I looked at the campaign finance report that ended on September 30th. And I do know that Jolene's campaign had a large fundraiser at a public golf course, and there was an omission of any money disbursements. There was no money paid out for that campaign fundraiser, or another way that it could have happened was show it as in-kind contributions if somebody was donating that. Neither one. It was a huge omission. That's pretty big in the money part of campaign finance. Now, on our end, to be fair, since you've mentioned both of these complaints, evidently we fully transparently, both sides, we accepted a campaign contribution that when you got into the fine print, which was a couple of footnotes down, was not proper. So we were notified of that. I would have loved to have been notified a bit sooner because I filed the very first day I could. But anyway, notification came, immediately researched it, found out, yes, shouldn't have done that, returned it, and within 3 business days, problem solved. As a matter of fact, that issue has been resolved. I mean, it's been dismissed by town hall. So now I, of course, am waiting still for the first response because since they were given 10 business days, the response is due November 2nd, y'all. That's 1 day before this election. So I would have loved to have had a response quicker, but I have not been notified by town hall that there's a response.
Yeah, so thank you for that. You know, we just want to make sure that everyone's held to the same standard of accountability and responsibility. Just know that if you elect me to town council, I will be very particular and very careful to monitor every little detail of this awesome responsibility and mantle called public servantship. So I just wanted everyone to know, in case you've heard any rumors out there, we wanted to dispel them right off the bat. And I wanted you to meet this wonderful lady. And I'm telling you, she also runs my books and my business. And this woman knows every penny that is off or in surplus. And I'm truly, truly grateful that you've been with me, that you've protected me. And I'm very, very grateful for you, Carla. And for my whole town campaign committee, I've had an awesome team. They have worked really, really, really hard. And I'm truly, truly grateful for not only my campaign committee, but for you, the voter. out there in Payson, Arizona. And I can't thank you enough for your support, for your vote. If you haven't voted yet, please consider me on November 3rd. If you want more information, you can visit me at deborahforpayson.com. That's DeborahForPayson.com. There's a lot of information there. There's audio files on me. There's video files. There is so much you can learn. I've been on KMOG an awful lot. So if you really don't know me, please take a moment and do the research. I'm big on people doing their own due diligence, because if you hear it from me, it's one thing, but if you do the research and hear it for yourself and investigate, that's a whole nother animal. And that's where I want people to be: educated, informed, and very transparent. So I wanted to thank you for joining our show today. It's been an awesome show with our mayor and with Carla Toller. And God bless you all. Have a great day. And thank you for your vote in advance.
Vote for Deborah.